What's going on, everybody? This is PhDarien, the guy with no PhD, but depends on who you ask. I got a PhD. I'm currently on deployment in Greece right now. I'm actually in Italy, but from that deployment, I did a small detachment within the deployment. I am in Crete, Greece. Awesome. If you like the type of content I post, go ahead, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Give me a critical or a good comment. Don't just be an idiot in the comment section, because you will get chewed up by the rest of the commenters. So either way, I'm going to be talking about a video I made that's starting to build a little traction on my channel, which is a very small channel, 983 subscribers as of right now, by the way. Thanks for all of you guys, whether you are a real person, whether you are a bot. I only have 17 more before I hit that milestone of 1,000 subscribers. So once again, subscribe if you want to see more. I want to talk about the 80% lower video I posted months ago where I said stop buying them. Do your research, understand your local laws. I still stick by that. I'm not changing my viewpoint on anything I probably said then. That video was relevant at the time I made it. If they changed a law since then maybe it won't make sense to you. So be aware of that. If you are watching videos now of something I posted a year ago and say that's not relevant today, well, no shit, but I'm not gonna take it down either. You'll understand why I said it then. But either way, I had a lot of mixed comments, more good than bad. I had some bad ones. I had some that just didn't make sense. So I'm not going to read every comment, but this is going to be a little bit of me just reacting to the comments that I got. I did reply to most of them. I'm not showing the reply. You can look at that yourself if you want to see it, but I'm just going to talk about some of the random comments I got on that video. So in no particular order, I'm just kind of going to go through it. One of them from Rebel says, holes look crooked. Yeah, dude. Works though. Another one from, I don't know what the heck to call this humanoid, Allie Wilkie or Allie Wilk. How much does the ATF pay for this video? Should have put a question mark there. That was a question, not just a sentence. And my answer to that is whoever did your makeup, that's how much, right? However much you paid for somebody to do your makeup, which seems to be about nothing, that's how much the ATF paid me. Yeah, but because, you know, I'm a nice guy, I'll do something for you free of charge, just like I did this video free of charge. I made an image with you as well, and hopefully you enjoy it. Logan 710. This individual made a couple comments on that same day. The first one, only one I'm going to read is, oh yeah, well this is the second one because it says also, I am not buying an actual serialized lower. The whole point of my 80% builds is the government has no paperwork on my or of my firearms. I do agree to that to a point, Mr. Logan 710. But the very fact that you made a public comment on a public video stating that you not only have them, but the purpose of why you have them is exactly the difference. And I think the other comment you said is like, keep stuff like this to yourself. You could have kept that comment to yourself. I appreciate it and I can agree with why most people will buy them. However, it doesn't matter. The minute you post a comment online, it's there, right? You can delete it. I still have it. And that's kind of the whole point. And the fact that your name is out here, it's not very hard to backtrack to find out who you are. So think about that. I don't really understand his full logic. Well, his logic, right? His, not mine. Never saying you're going to buy a serialized lower is like everyone's prerogative. I will eventually probably buy one, not because I feel like I want the government to know what I'm doing. They already know what I'm doing. I'm in the military, for crying out loud. I'm in the government. I plan on joining law enforcement, state government, not federal. So the government already knows about me, and I'm not just saying, here, take what you want from me, nothing like that. But just as much as the government knows about me, I know a bunch about them too, right? And if I wanted to get an SBR, whether it was an 80% lower, I still have to get it serialized, right? There's a specific depth you need to register any SBR. You have to have it registered. It will be going through the ATF. So if you want an SBR, you will 100% have a serialized or registered, however you want to call it, lower receiver. You can do it 80% lower, but it's going to actually take you a lot longer process than just buying one and then getting it registered as an SPR. So while that's your motive, this video is a broad topic. A lot of people disagree with you, including myself on some of it. Another reason for it is not just the I don't care about the paperwork. If I went and bought a very expensive lower, which is identical to my 80% lowers with someone else's logo engraved on the side, and I wanted to modify it and put an ambidextrous piece on it, I may have voided the warranty, which, why do I need a warranty on a $40 block of aluminum in the first place? But enough said about that. So that's one of the other reasons why I do not own serialized lowers. Yours is so the government has no paperwork on you. Mine is for a complete different reason, but I understand that. Eric Lawson says, if you don't want a record of you buying one, pay cash. I agree. Paying cash doesn't always help because sometimes these places will still take your name down in other stores. So I get that. Or they will have your face plastered on their CCTV or some sort of imagery. I've also seen that happen too. Unless you go to a gun show and just buy them, or do what someone else says in another comment, which is also pretty funny, then I get it. Buy 5 cheap ones to practice before you mill the pricey one. There shouldn't be pricey lowers. If you're paying lots of money for a crappy, or I wouldn't say crappy, but for a very pricey lower, in my opinion, you might as well buy it. I have lowers, not just so that the government, I could care less, like I said, if they know they exist or not, or how many exist. I have them for the fact that they're much cheaper for me, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Then sell your mistakes in a gun buyback. So whenever the government decides, if it even gets that far, where we need a gun buyback program, or turning all your 80% lowers, turning all the crappy ones, right? I melted mine down. So, whatever. Cynical Texas dad. Cynical, huh? You don't trust people? Well, you shouldn't trust me either. That's why I made something for you too. That awkward moment when you try to correct everyone, but you get the fundamental facts wrong. Lol. Well, I want to laugh out loud too. And I found something on your only video that also doesn't have comments available, so why don't you laugh out loud at this? Josh Torres. The law specifically says intent. If you make them with the intent of selling them, you can still sell them, but you can't make them with the intent in selling them. You can sell an 80% lower. You cannot mill out an 80% lower and then sell it.
Nope.
Now, I don't know which part of the law you read, but I know for a fact I'm right on that. Dave Moose. I didn't know it was illegal to mail out for someone as a favor or a gift. That's exactly why I made this video. Research. Understand your laws. You cannot manufacture, which is the process of you actually milling out a lower. You are manufacturing that firearm, right? Which is just a 1-to-1 scale. It is no longer an 80% lower. It is 100% lower that is just unserialized, right? And a lot of people don't get that. I cannot give somebody a gun the same way you think. Some states you can buy a firearm, they don't register it, they just sell the firearm and say this serialized firearm was sold to blank individual. Where it's at now, we don't know. Some states like California will not only sell you that firearm, but they will have you register it to you and you alone. I thought it was only illegal to get paid to mill it for someone if you don't have proper licenses to manufacture and sell firearms. Whether you give it away, request donations, receive donations, sell it, you cannot give a firearm away that has not been vetted through the process of having background checks. That's the whole point. That's why all these people say what they do. And then you'll have another person on the opposite end saying the government shouldn't have anything to say with firearms, shall not be infringed. I agree. But are you willing to get your ass shot off because you want to play the system?
Nope.
Maybe. I'm not. Unless you are, this is Jay Whiskey. Unless you are worried about confiscation and prohibited by law, or want some kind of special markings, it's cheaper to buy a completed receiver out of the gate. Maybe today it is, maybe where you are it is, but I can tell you assuredly it is not. So one of my good friends has a generic 80%, not 80%, I'm sorry, and a generic lower that was completely registered. It was a 1994 pre-ban. He bought it in Connecticut. He paid $750 for one lower.
What?
And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look all that great. It looks worse than all of my 80% lowers. It was a pre-ban, so the technology, the milling, everything, it kind of looks crappy. To me, the anodizing looks crappy. It doesn't have a flared mag well. It doesn't have a lot of things that we see today for 30, 40 bucks for a lower. And he paid $750. $750 for one lower. So it's not always cheaper based on where you live, what time you're buying it. So that's why I say research, research, research. Michael Aruda, ex-AM or EM2 ex-Navy here. I would say former Navy. You're an ex if you got kicked out or dumped, right? But I completely agree with you, shipmate. I agree with you. This is what he says, and just enjoy making my own. Personally, that's why I got started. It was based on my initial ignorance of the topic. I could not build the one I wanted, right? I wanted to build a rifle. I didn't know anything about pistols at the time. And I'm sorry, no, I wanted to build a pistol at the time. And in California, when I first got started about 9 years ago, you could not buy a lower anymore and build a pistol.
Nope.
You could only build rifles. And the way of getting around that was just milling out an 80% lower and doing it that way. And when I asked the questions and read up and said, well, what's stopping me from just doing this for a normal rifle? And they said nothing. And the fact that it didn't take me 10 days after buying it and then waiting 10 days to get my piece, I could have just went home, spent a few hours on the drill press, and I was done already. I mean, that turned me into a monster, because at that point I was like, well, then why would I even buy one if I can just do this? I'm in the communist state where I live, we can't buy pre-drilled lowers. So he's stating right here, Michael Aruda is saying right here, he cannot buy a completed lower. So someone else is saying it's cheaper to buy a completed receiver. Well, where this guy lives, he cannot buy a completed lower. Right out the gate is what he's saying. We can, up until now, manufacture our own, but cannot sell, give it without a license to do so. So he's saying he can't even do that anymore. Now, whether or not you do what you want in the privacy of your own home, your basement, your garage, that's between you and that block of aluminum. But what I'm saying is this. When people go out there asking questions and stuff like that and say, I'm going to take my unregistered, unserialized firearm to a gun range, or you get stopped on the way to a gun range, God forbid, you get into an accident, you get pulled over, you get searched, you have something that that state or local county says you cannot have, you better be prepared to understand there are consequences. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm saying that's just what it is. If you want them to watch YouTube videos and read ATF statutes and stuff like that, I can tell you right now they're not going to. And like every other idiot who gets stopped by the cops that thinks they're going to argue with them, they normally get their ass shot off. And I don't know if you're willing to do that over an 80% lower, because I'm not.
Nope.
Jackson Phillips says, I think this is a good video. I've seen and heard things from people regarding 80 lowers and the ignorance. That's the whole point of this video. Ignorant people. Too many people buying these things because they're scared. He spelled there wrong, but I appreciate it. And that's kind of my point. If you're scared, buying an 80% lower is not going to make you safe.
Nope.
Having any gun with training will make you safer. Not the fact that you just have a blank receiver. That does nothing for you. Hawkslayer says, I would love to see the tutorial you You should post it on Rumble or some other platform. I do plan on doing that, by the way. Know your laws. The laws are designed to not understand so they can slowly abolish the second. So he's talking about the Second Amendment is being eroded, essentially. The way that, you have to jump through hoops to understand what the law says. When the law says this here, that sounds great, but the underlying issue will take away everything you own. That's what he's getting at. And I completely understand that. The Second Amendment, the second is clear, shall not be infringed. All these local laws are BS. I am surprised the states have not been sued for it. I'm not surprised either. A lot of people thought when Trump won that we were going to have, ATF was going to be abolished. We were going to have the Hearing Protection Act. We were going to have national reciprocity for concealed carry. And we got none of that.
Nope.
And I'm not saying it can't happen. Some people just don't give a rip what the law says. They're called criminals. We know that. But yeah, there is a certain level to do what you have to do within reason. You have to understand that. This person, I'm assuming it's kind of like PlayStation. I can totally relate to this because when you mentioned I have to hear and deal with laugh my flippin' ass off. If they are scared of milling their own because they don't want to mess it up, I always tell them to buy a polymer lower to practice, and once they get a hang of it and is much more comfortable, then go do an aluminum one. Like you stated, they want me to order it. This is something I have a lot. I tell them no problemo, but I'm charging. If it costs $30, you pay me $60 for it, or you can order it for yourself and just have it shipped to a family member if you are that scared to purchase yourself. This is probably the main reason I made this video. Other than just ignorance, anybody can read the laws. Anybody can go watch another YouTube video. But when I'm doing a bulk order for myself for whatever reason, or I'm saying, hey, look, there's 2 or 3 right here, and I want to buy one, someone will always say, hey, can you buy me one too? And I'm like, it's easier for you to just buy. And then when I tell them, like, oh, it's $40, and they literally only give me $40, I'm like, oh, no, negative. You're going to give me more than that, or you could buy it yourself. I'm paying for shipping as well. I'm paying taxes on it as well. I'm not giving you what it costs, just MSRP. You're paying for the taxes. You're paying for the shipping. And the biggest thing is they're just scared. When I'm like, hey, man, they're on sale. Or people will say, hey, do you have any 80% lowers left? And I'm like, yeah, I do. They're like, hey, can I buy one from you? I'm like,
nope.
I just send them a link. Instantly send them a link somewhere to get there, and they're like, but I thought you said you had some left. I was like, I do, but there's a reason I have them. I want those ones. If you want one, get it here. And then I'm always like, hey, why won't you just buy it? They're like, yeah, I just don't want to be tracked. I was like, but you don't mind throwing my ass under the bus so I could be tracked. If that's your thought process, I don't feel that way. But if you feel that way, you are fine telling me to take that L for you. Yeah, that's pretty jacked. Uncle Billy, I'm with you. I like figuring out how things work and making them myself. Also, another reason for this video, I have a lot of woodworking tools. I could go buy a table, I could buy a bed, a dresser, blah, 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 beep, bop, whatever it may be, or I could build it myself out of better material, understand how it works, and enjoy the process, the workmanship, the craftsmanship, the customization, everything. So that's why I personally do these as well. I've been learning about Cerakoting and want to start doing some of my guns. It also turns out I can't Cerakote anyone else's gun without an FFL. If you don't know what an FFL, it's a federal firearms license. Doesn't make much sense to me unless the government is concerned I may do illegal things with someone else's. There's some truth to that. If someone sends you a firearm or just an 80% lower that is milled out, which is now 100% functional, yeah, you can do anything with that, technically. And that's the whole point. You can't send a firearm through the mail that's a complete, what would be a firearm through the mail unless it's from FFL to FFL or yourself to yourself. So yeah, that's the thing. Mr. X, awesome video, and I agree with every point that you made. Awesome artwork, I have to add. That's because I do art as well. Also, after doing just a couple for future build, I found out that I really don't have a need to buy any because all the features I can just make out of any old block of aluminum. You're right, they're not that difficult. I just appreciate the fact that you spell "you're" correct at the end. You are right. A lot of people jack that word up just like there, but appreciate you, Mr. X. I agree. And Wood Wheel Wizard. Don't build, build, don't buy. Stop bootlicking yourself into they registry, maybe their registry. Just talked about that. And I really do agree with that. But the whole stop bootlicking yourself into their registry, I have to take a step back and say this. I agree with you on the surface, but it's a little bit below the surface. Everybody who bought one of those forced reset triggers thought they were in no registry. Thought they weren't. And then the records, right? Your point of sale transactions. That's why people say pay for cash or pay with cash. You had people who swiped a card, ordered online, did something, and little did they know, everyone can see what the hell you're doing online. And these companies that sold these things to you, while they tried their best to not divulge information, guess what happened? The ATF started knocking on people's doors, asking for those triggers back, asking for those bump stocks back, asking for those things people thought no one knew we had it, until guess what? Everyone knew you effing had it. So, very different. So, once again, these are just some of the comments, good and bad, that I've seen. And like I said, I love comments. I love hearing what you guys have to say about it. But I will also tell you this, that every other content creator told me, you know, not just like, subscribe, share, all that stuff, but if you feel you can make another video better than me, either make a better video or shut the hell up. This is PhDarien from Greece, and I'm out. Peace.